Okay, just hold on a minute. Sorry, what should I call you?
Animation. New tools, new AI tech, new frontiers and possibilities. And gosh darn it, it's just a lot of fun too.
Hi, I'm Adam, an internet nobody, and I've been making YouTube videos for just over a year now. It's been real. It's been fun. It hasn't been real fun. But you know, I started all this with an actual purpose in mind, not just to be a tap dancing jackass trying to make it big among the tweeners, the streamers, and the Minecraft dreamers. I mean, sure, we've all got pop culture references and things we can ramble on about, but I think it's finally time to talk about my project. So over the past few years, I've been writing short stories, mostly science fiction, you know. Got about 30 of them now. Surely enough for several seasons of Netflix, but the problem with writing short stories is, so what? Who's gonna read them? Now, this is the same problem as with making videos. I'm slowly learning, but at least there you have a small infinitesimal chance of a random bored person clicking on your video and watching it for 3.2 seconds before their lizard brain kicks in and they click off of it, but why not try to turn some of these stories into videos? How hard could it be? And so I started getting into film production, cameras, lenses, cinematography, and I never thought I'd be able to shoot any of these things because you need tens of thousands of dollars, a crew, actors, or at the very least, friends. But I did think, you know, maybe at the minimum I could storyboard them and film an introduction. This is what I was thinking, you know, like 2 or 3 years ago. And so I started making these storyboards, photo bash digital paintings, little pieces of art, not high art, but you know, art. Which, this was before all the AI art generators, so it took considerably longer than it would take me now. And I did this for a year or two, and then the whole world suddenly started to change. All the AI art stuff started coming out. Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, DALL-E, and then the large language models like ChatGPT, and I don't care much about that. You know, 4 hours to write a story and 4 years to film it. AI applied to film and animation, all the truly labor-intensive work that goes along with that. Maybe it's possible for one person to animate their own film now. I mean, you're probably not going to win the bronze boy, but you could probably do it. And when I say animate, I don't mean like draw every single frame by hand. No, we're going to use computers and AI, and you know what, it's fine. South Park's been making their shit on computers for at least a decade. Simpsons have been digitally inking for twice as long, and even using AI, it's still going to take you like 1,000 hours if you're trying to do a serious project just to upload it so people can click off after about 3.4 seconds because of their goddamn TikTok lizard brains. But you know, it's an improvement. And I don't mean any disrespect to actual animators. If that's what you're passionate about, that's what you're into, then great. But when it comes to art, there's style, craft, technique, and then the art itself. Now, the craft doesn't matter. That's just the work you put into it. And the technique is how you apply the craft. That's the respectable part, the part that usually impresses people, but it's gotta be in service to the end result. And style. Style might just be the most important thing in all of art. So if you're gonna make stuff with AI, you can't rely on that as the style.
One piece of advice to take away from this whole damn video. Develop your own recognizable style.
At least after the novelty wears off. But either way, you know, animation sucks. At least the process of animation. So let's take a look at the current set of AI tools and what you can do with them and why animating things is still a huge pain in the ass. So the current state of AI film and animation right now. By the way, I'm trying to start a subreddit for this stuff. But if you look around, it's mostly movie trailers, right? And that's because people are generating images in Midjourney or Stable Diffusion or whatever, and then taking those and slapping them into Runway Gen-2, and it's giving them back these little 4-second animations. Random animations, and what can you do with a bunch of random 4-second clips? Yeah, that's right, movie trailers. And of course, fake movie trailers are like the perfect format for memes, and the internet was built on the backs of humble meme farmers.
We're not gonna make out, okay?
Now, Runway Gen-2 is interesting because you can get really cool animation, but if you don't want the image to change, you can't prompt it at all right now, and so it's going to give you whatever it wants, and it costs money, and so you're going to spend a lot of time and money on random animation hoping to hit the jackpot. I mean, I didn't even really get any movement here. I tried many times. I can probably accomplish the same thing with depth maps and Stable Diffusion right now. What the hell, let's give it a shot. Yeah, you know, in this case, the depth map is similar, if not better. Anyway, random animation isn't typically how you make films, like a scripted film with plot and characters, but it can still be useful for certain things. I added a little subtle arm movement here from Runway on top of something I already did with EbSynth. Oh, we'll get to EbSynth, don't you worry, we'll get to that. But anyway, Runway is interesting. It would be a lot more interesting if we could run it locally right now, because it's kind of like gambling, but we can probably still incorporate it into our workflow for some things. And there are some local video generators right now. They mostly work as extensions for Stable Diffusion and Automatic 111. There's model scope based stuff like text to video and AnimateDiff or even Deforum, but you're not going to get consistency. This is more for like experimental animation and maybe trying to tie a bunch of random stuff together to make a trailer. When I say run locally, I mean like on my computer for free, so we don't have to buy credits from some AI startup company trying to mine the miners. Eventually, big companies like Adobe will adopt all these different AI tools into big, shitty, expensive programs with monthly subscription fees, but by that point AI won't be cool anymore, so let's try to adopt all these open source tools while we can, be true pioneers like Freddy Farkas, Frontier Pharmacist.
Okay, now let's get cracking, Sreeni.
Nothing. In my own abilities, I guess. Never mind. Well, friend, I'm not sure where to start. Maybe you can tell me, what's the last thing you remember?
This is probably the easiest method right now, and for certain things I think it looks the best too. First order motion model, thin plate spline, articulated animation. You got all these different GitHub projects that essentially all do the same thing. They're not even really forks of each other, so ask me how that works. But they're all using the same checkpoints and data sets, and testing a couple of them, they all gave me similar results, so I'm pretty sure it's mostly the same code too. Basically, you have a starter image and you can animate it with a driving video, but it needs to be very similar to what the models were trained on for it to actually work, and the models were trained on low-res data, so you have to do your motion transfer and then upscale it. I usually end up compositing a few things together too. Anyway, it's pretty great for close-ups and medium close-ups. If you want to give it a shot, look for some Thin Plate Spline tutorials on YouTube. For all this stuff, you're probably going to need a PC and a decent graphics card. We've got a GeForce 3060 12GB right now, and it's handling most of this stuff just fine.
I love you. Let's remarry.
So you don't gotta go out and raid grandma's sock drawer, but you will need some kind of horsepower. And hopefully you're pretty good with facial expressions. On the poor man's end, you have DID, which you can use online. It's what Curious Refuge used to make all those Wes Anderson movie trailers that went viral. And yeah, it sucks compared to this. It's more of a static, rigid animation style. He himself didn't even opt to use the lip sync.
They have lip sync, but the lip sync isn't super believable, I think, at this point. And so I tried to not show...
Whereas, you know, this can start to look like actual animation if you're really good at reverse ADR, I guess.
But aren't there examples where it works?
You don't even, you're glib. You don't even know what riddling is.
Just take those old records.
And then there's also Wave to Lip, which is an open source lip syncing GitHub library, but I really think transferring a performance is the way to go because you get so much more subtle facial movement. Honestly, I think it's miles ahead of this other crap, but maybe that's just me. Again, right now you're basically limited to pre-trained head and shoulder models. There's a pre-trained checkpoint for TED Talks, which almost kind of works. You sometimes get tiny T-Rex arms, but at 384 by 384, there's just not enough data for things like hands to look right when upscaled. And there's one for Tai Chi, which might work if your characters need to, you know, do Tai Chi, but again, you're kind of limited here. I might start experimenting with training my own models, leave my computer on over the weekend and have it crunch a bunch of numbers, but then you gotta download and organize a huge amount of data, and that takes time. Everything takes time unless you're just building off the work of strangers. Could build my own computer just to train models, but I'm not made of money. But if you need more complex animation right now, there's a couple ways you could do it.
Let's go, girls.
So EbSynth is already pretty well known in the Joel Haver animation circles, but the results can be pretty good. However, this is more of an old school animation technique, rotoscoper kind of thing. Basically, you just paint over some keyframes and then the program calculates the in-between frames for you using a driving video. And then you kind of blend it all together in Resolve or After Effects or whatnot, and then happy days, walking on sunshine, Bob's your uncle. And it's useful. This is acceptable animation here using EbSynth and combining it with the thin plate stuff for the facial animation. But, you know, that's 8 or 12 hours of work there for 10 seconds of video, and sure, some of that is me not knowing what I'm doing, but I can't spend a day and a half on 10 seconds of animation if you hope to ever get anything done. Maybe if you have a team of animators working in tandem, but we're doing DIY shenanigans here, boys and girls. In fact, I suspect this is probably already too much work for some of you smartphone jockeys out there. But EbSynth can be extremely useful for very subtle animation, over-the-shoulder shots and things like that where you just need a little bit of movement. It can figure that kind of stuff out from a single frame, so already that's more goddamn useful than half the people we went to school with. They call this the Tokyo Jab method, named for the Redditor who first posted it.
Welcome to Ollivander's One Shop Craft.
So basically, take a video. Figure out the keyframes, you know, pick ones with the least amount of motion. Create a grid by using a program like Texture Packer. Slap that into Stable Diffusion. Diffuse new images and then take it to EbSynth, use your driving video and blend it all together, blah 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 blah. Yeah, I know it's just like the EbSynth method, but you aren't painting your own keyframes, you're using AI to do it for you. Now the reason why you want to do a grid is because you could just batch a bunch of images using the same seed and settings, but they won't be as consistent. Stable Diffusion seems to understand, you know, what a grid of images is, but it's still not 100% coherent. You probably also want to batch a single image so you can find the best seed and control settings, then use ControlNet, Canny is fine to render the final grid of images. This method can work pretty well if you can find the right seed and prompt. Of course, you can combine this with Thin Plate or any other method to up the quality a bit.
Shut it off.
I could spend hours blending this together to get the perfect render, but I think you get the basic idea.
No.
This is probably where you end up if you want to do tracking shots or animation more complicated than a simple talking head. Oh, hi David.
Good to be back.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dunbartonshire, Scotland's very own David Byrne. What are you up to these days, Davo?
Well, same as it ever was. Behind the wheel of a large automobile.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. How do you feel about all this AI stuff?
Under the water, carry the water. Remove the water.
Ah, I see. So you're more in the motion transfer camp. How very interesting. How do you feel about prompting?
We haven't boxed ourselves in, so we don't have one specific style, I don't think. We can kind of go in lots of different directions.
Well, good to see you, David. Keep up the weird. So you have PFU, you have Make It 3D, which looks promising. You have Wonder Dynamics, where apparently you can upload a 3D model and it'll AI it into a video for you. And you have MetaHumans, and you know, you can get a passing resemblance, maybe just using their MetaHuman creator. Or use Mesh to MetaHuman on your own model and then use LiveLink with your iPhone to animate your video if you have one. But for me personally, I don't think the 3D tools are there just quite yet. By the time you rig it and animate it, you might as well just done it by hand with EbSynth and gotten a cooler look anyway, right? If you're gonna spend all that time doing it, then you might as well just be doing 3D animation anyway.
Now that being said, maybe you go on GitHub, get panel head work, and make your 2D render a 360-degree model and take the data from that, maybe some thin plate, maybe some relight stuff from DaVinci, feed all that into Dream Booth and train your own LoRa with fresh new data, and maybe you can combine that with some of the other methods to get, interesting shots. Or maybe you download some generic 3D models, rigged of course, because I'm not doing that work, and use one of the free motion capture libraries and transfer your animations to your generic model, so maybe now you got a little bit better starting point for a control net or whatever. These are just ideas, not even original ideas, and I'll try them out, just not in this video. It's 2023 though. There should be some software that will design and rig a 3D character for you. What's Poser up to these days? Okay, how about Character Creator? Oh, Jesus. You gotta buy clothes and accessories like it's a goddamn Barbie doll? I think I got Make Human installed somewhere. Oh, it crashed. How about Daz 3D? Whoa. Yeah, I think I just stick with AI for now.
Now for the voices, I've been using 11 Labs, and it works great. If you splice together a few different takes, you can get really realistic sounding stuff, man.
I am the very model of a modern major general. I've information vegetable, animal, and mineral. I've information vegetable, animal, and mineral.
But I feel kind of bad about this one. I don't care about any of the AI art stuff because I'm an artist, so I was never going to pay people to do any of that stuff. But voice acting, I can't do that, or at least not all of that, so I was going to get some people, and I might still hire one or two, but basically it all comes down to money, right? If I had infinite money, I'd hire people to do everything, even the animation, but I don't.
What do you think, idiot?
As far as music goes, you guys are on your own with this one because I have no interest in it. Spent half my life learning how to write music. Pretty much all the music you'll hear in my videos that aren't obvious references are things I wrote. For example, this is the music I use for most of my intros, so I don't have any interest in AI for music because I don't see how it speeds up anything or helps me with my creative vision. It's like the writing stuff, I just don't really care. And that's not me being picky and choosy with these AI tools, it's just the fact that it can take weeks to paint a single picture, like one picture, but a whole song you can write and record that in a few days. But you know what the hell, let's try Meta's MusicGen for fun. You can generate 12 seconds of music right now, and I'm just gonna try to get it to recreate that intro track through prompting. It's okay, I guess. I like what the snare's doing, but let's add some keywords. It's starting to get a little schmaltzy there, so I'm gonna add more description. It's starting to sound like straight up stock music, but I'll try one more time. Maybe that one's the closest, but I'm wondering if this thing was trained entirely on stock music, because that's definitely what it sounds like. And I've written some corporate stock music, we all have, but for a passion project, I'm gonna make something unique and interesting. None of this is really sounding that interesting to me. Not to mention, the lost art of scoring.
So instead of all these things in the year 2023 is that there's a bunch of different tools that do a bunch of different things. I'm still leaning heavily on things like Photoshop and DaVinci Resolve. And by the way, DaVinci Resolve is awesome. If you're still using Adobe Premiere, go ahead and throw that shit in the trash where it belongs. But there's a few things you gotta learn, and you gotta learn them well. Well, hopefully in a year, 2 or 3, more AI comes along and replaces some of these tools, because I like doing things manually. I like doing them by hand. It adds a certain wonkiness, a certain quality you can't get from just using a computer to generate everything. But goddamn if it doesn't take a long time. But the cool thing about animation is the imperfection, the humanity, the handmade quality that sometimes shines through. And again, in 3D, there's not a whole lot of that. A computer's calculating the angles, the geometry, the lighting, the bounce lighting and radiosity, and ultimately, AI is kind of the same thing. Well, it isn't, because there's imperfections in there. It's not just code, it's AI, I guess. And you could always program more imperfections into it, but typically people are looking to make things more perfect, not add more bugs.
But the technology will change, I think, or not. It could just fizzle out like crypto, where people get bored by it, and then everyone is on to the next big thing. But I don't think so, because you can actually do stuff with this.
As opposed to, crypto or the metaverse, which were mostly just pyramid schemes and empty promises.
Runway will get better. Hopefully you'll be able to prompt it without destroying the integrity of the original image soon. That would be super useful. And there's NVIDIA LDM, which is a very similar project that I'm hopeful might get released because it's NVIDIA, and even if you make it open source, there's still a profit incentive to do so because they'll sell more video cards, right? And crypto mining is dead as far as I know, so they're gonna need another cash cow pretty soon. I think AI is gonna be it.
But I hope this stuff keeps getting better, because even the video I'm working on right now, I'm at like 4.5 minutes out of 22, and even if I worked on it every day, which isn't always possible, it's probably still going to take me 6 months to a year, and then you upload it to YouTube for 400 people with lizard brains to watch it and then click off after about 3.4 seconds. But I guess you gotta have faith that if you spend that kind of time making something, that someone somewhere will find it and enjoy it, and that the Google's AI bots won't just do anything but at least taking you out to dinner at the Matrix restaurant, buying you a nice slice of cake. But regardless, I guess it doesn't really matter, because I'm gonna do these things anyway. That's what being an artist is all about. You do things because you need to do them, not because of the world or anyone in it gives a shit. Screw the world. I get tired of it, tired of fighting it. We all do. That's why you make these little art projects, so you can create little tiny worlds of your own that you and everybody else can disappear into. At least for a little while. Make things for you, the things you want to make. If some stupid corporate tech bot suddenly decides that you're worth people's time, then fine, but don't count on it. Everyone under 15 wants to be a YouTube star for all the wrong reasons. But we're better than that. Every day, everywhere, people are making amazing things that no one will ever see because it all gets drowned out by so much nonsense. Politics, celebrity gossip, influencers. None of these things will last, and none of them mean a goddamn thing. They're all just noise and flash, sound and fury. I don't want to shit on anybody's content here because you have to respect the first mover advantage, but the temptation to churn out mediocre content with AI is just so high. I'm not saying you can't make memes or stupid things with it, but like anything else over time, the quality's gonna have to get better. Or, maybe not. The thing that scares me about AI is the thing that scares me about all technology, that it's gonna dumb us down, fry our attention spans, and turn us into consumer zombies. And that's pretty much already happened, but all it really takes to reverse that trend is for people to start to care and up their games. And I know that the world, the internet, and especially YouTube isn't a meritocracy, so why not have the same clickbait, cutthroat, garbage in, garbage out mentality that everyone else has? Well, because some people do care and they do notice, and if you work hard enough and long enough, those people will find you. And if not, we're all gonna get recycled on our 30th birthdays anyway, so who really gives a shit, huh? Stop worrying about it.